I think where a lot of people probably get nervous is that they think, oh, if I'm a public speaker, oh, or if I want to practice presenting, I have to be on a big stage or I have to speak at my all hands meeting. But we're speaking every day. And I like to say, when I talk to people about how to get better at speaking, is it's okay to start small. Speaking for 30 seconds in front of a small team meeting of, 2 or 3 people, that's great practice. I think that's a really great way to start building your confidence. And then maybe speak in the larger function team meeting. And then after that, you get comfortable with that. Then you volunteer for the all hands. And then you keep building like that. You don't have to jump from 0 to 100 right away. Baby steps along the way are okay. And also just reframing what public speaking actually is.
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of Speaking of Success. My guest today is Lorraine Lee, a LinkedIn and workplace communication expert. Lorraine helps organizations and teams supercharge their professional presence. Now, I know Lorraine from our time together at Prezi, where she transformed from a nervous beginner to a confident public speaker. Her career skyrocketed in 2021 when she embraced public speaking, turning it into a side hustle while leading Prezi's editorial team. After being laid off in 2022, she founded Rise Learning Solutions. Now, Lorraine helps professionals boost their presence and success. She's taught at LinkedIn Learning, Stanford Continuing Studies, and countless large organizations, reaching over 500,000 professionals through her LinkedIn following and her LinkedIn Learning courses. I'm excited for her to share her journey and insights with us today.
Lorraine, welcome. Great to see you here.
Great to see you too. I'm so excited to be chatting today.
Me too. I think you have a really great experience to share with people. And I thought maybe we'd start by taking you back in time to the beginning of your journey and to maybe share with us a little bit about how did you first get into public speaking?
Sure. So I'll go back a little bit farther than when we started working together, Spencer. So I would say initially it started when I was an editor at LinkedIn. And I had seen at the time the value that existed with video and just how important video was becoming to the business world. And so I conceptualized and hosted a video series at LinkedIn. Was so nervous doing it, but I really wanted to push myself. So that was sort of the start. So I recorded maybe about 20 different videos while I was there, 20 different video interviews, where I was a little bit more behind the camera asking the questions versus being interviewed. And then when I joined Prezi in late 2019, I had to come up with a personal goal for ourselves. Everyone at Prezi did. And I thought that public speaking and presenting would be a good one. And I was also inspired by seeing you, Spencer, and how good you were at speaking. And I was like, wow, he's so articulate and just so confident. And I want to be like that too. And so I took that upon myself as a goal. You so kindly agreed to mentor me and give me feedback. And that really gave me the confidence to get started.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go back to the LinkedIn experience, because I have seen photographs of you doing that interview, and it's a pretty intimidating studio setup. It feels like a proper TV studio. So
Yeah,
like, what was that like? Because even though you say, okay, yeah, I wasn't there, I wasn't
yeah,
the person being interviewed, but you're still on camera, you still have
yeah,
to prepare. So
yeah.
what was that like as a journey? What kind of emotions and feelings did you go through with that?
Yeah, well, you're so right. It is a full-fledged professional studio. I actually just visited yesterday and went back to that studio, and it was just so strange to see you see the studio again, remember where I was, see where I am at now. But I was so nervous. I would tell this story in some of my earlier keynotes and presentations where I just, I flew to New York. I wanted to do these interviews. I scheduled a bunch in a row on the day or the days that I was there, the week that I was there. And yeah, I was full of nerves. It was just so scary. I mean, essentially what I did was I had my list of questions and I just practiced and repeated them over and over again so that I could ask the questions and make eye contact and not just be looking down at my paper the whole time. But yeah, it was a lot of practice, and maybe my questions were like a little bit shorter to start just because I didn't feel comfortable speaking for long periods of time. But yeah, it's just a lot of practice and just throwing myself into it. I didn't really have any training or anyone I could look to who sort of gave me any advice.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Practice can give you a lot of confidence. Like you say, it stops you having to look down at the questions. And I think yeah, it's definitely one of the keys to building confidence, especially in the early days.
Yes, for sure.
So when we started working together at Prezi, what were some of the early experiences? Because I know you were doing some of the webinars and other stuff, but what were some of the early experiences when it was you in the spotlight?
Still very nerve-wracking. I remember coming up with a talk and working with you, Spencer, to figure out, okay, how can I talk about video communications, video presence, and also tie it into a little bit of my LinkedIn experience. So it was a lot of practice. Again, I think it did help having using the Prezi video product, having the visuals on screen. It was just something really cool to look at, and it looked just more engaging than what was out there at the time. And so it was, I think I probably practiced. I think I recorded a few times and had you give me some feedback. But then again, I feel like it was a lot of learning by doing. I always ask for feedback at the end of each session. It's something I continue to do, years later. And that also helped. People would give me suggestions of things like, oh, this animation was like kind of distracting, or oh, like this could have been improved. So it was a combination of a lot of feedback and then also reviewing myself and then practicing.
Yeah, that's great feedback. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You need
Yeah,
to, yeah, kind of see how the talk can evolve, but also how you can evolve as a speaker. Yeah.
like yeah.
So when when you think about like what was the impact of starting to do these kind of things? Because obviously, like you were doing a lot of that at Prezi, and then now you're doing it for your own business. So like maybe talk a little bit about what's the kind of benefits or impact that speaking has had on you over the last couple of years.
My gosh, I'm so thankful for you for starting this journey. I mean, it really has completely just changed my entire career trajectory. I started posting more on LinkedIn again. So I mentioned I worked at LinkedIn. I was a founding editor, but I would often just post the LinkedIn work that I was doing. And I took a break before joining Prezi, or excuse me, I took a break while I was at Prezi and just wanted to focus on my job. But as I started doing speaking, I posted more on LinkedIn to let people know that I was doing speaking. I feel like that helped me start building a brand for myself that was not necessarily tied to a company, and that really gave me ownership of my brand, and letting people know what it was exactly that I did. So of course I had my day job, but I also did speaking, and I started at the beginning of 2021, so actually not that many years ago, and a lot of virtual events were still happening. And so it was just great timing. A lot of people would see me post on LinkedIn that I spoke, and then they would invite me to their events, and that sort of snowballed and led to podcasts and writing articles and being interviewed in articles, and just all these things I wouldn't have imagined for myself. Becoming a LinkedIn learning instructor as well, being comfortable on video, I had to send in a clip of myself speaking. And so it was a side hustle. But then when I got laid off at the end of 2022, it really gave me the confidence to say, oh, I have experience making money outside of a corporate job. And I also have a set of skills that I think can lend itself to me going off on my own full time. And so that's what I've been doing full time, the past year and a half, running my own business and speaking and going into companies and training teams. That's been a really big part of my company.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's really nice for people to hear that actually you can make a lot of progress in a short space of time if you
Yeah.
just invest a little bit of resources and time and start to build that skill that actually, yeah, you can go from I'm really terrified to, hey, I'm starting to understand this thing in
Yeah.
quite a short period of time.
Yeah, yeah, it has been a short period of time, but yeah, to your point, like you can really grow a lot. You just need the right support. You need, at Prezi, we had we were fortunate enough to work with many keynote speakers, and so I got to learn from them. So yeah, it's also about just like consuming a lot of information as well, and just taking that time to learn and having that willingness.
Yeah.
Whilst I'm here, this is a brand new YouTube channel. It would help me so much if you could subscribe and help me spread the word. You're amazing. Thank you.
So if somebody's listening who's either more junior or somebody who's decided, okay, I'm going to try my hand at public speaking, what would you advise them to start with?
Mm, I would think about so I guess a few things. I would think about what your area of expertise is and what it is that you might want to speak on, and that might take a little bit reflection, just yeah, inner reflection and some quiet time to really think about that. Because there's a lot of things that probably all of us can speak on, but you need to find sort of the intersection of your expertise and your passion. So I would think about that. I would think about who your ideal audience is, who you want to reach with your speaking. And then I would try to find a mentor or someone who can give you feedback like you were to me, Spencer, and have that person give you the honest feedback, with empathy, of course, but really be that person who's on your side, championing you and wanting to see you grow. I think having that other person is so key, not just for learning the skill, but also feeling motivated because again, it is a scary thing, and to have sort of someone in your corner, I feel like that goes a long way.
It's so good. And I think like even if you think, okay, I don't have anybody around me that can be a mentor, you can even see it as like a mastermind group. So you just get somebody who let's help each other both grow the skill at the same time. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's huge amounts of value in having some kind of accountability that you have to show up at a certain time and talk about it that actually propels you forward. I think it's
Yeah, yeah, because it is so nerve-wracking. Like if you didn't have a talk scheduled and you're just sort of developing the skill on your own, it's very uncomfortable. So, or it can be, I think, to most people, right? So yeah, that sort of accountability is key.
And what would be like for somebody first starting, what would be some of the easier opportunities to get to talk, whether that's in the workplace, at conferences, like where can people start?
I think where a lot of people probably get nervous is that they think, oh, if I'm a public speaker, oh, or if I want to practice presenting, I have to be on a big stage or I have to speak at my all hands meeting. But we're speaking every day. And I like to say, when I talk to people about how to get better at speaking, is it's okay to start small. Speaking for 30 seconds in front of a small team meeting of, 2 or 3 people, that's great practice. I think that's a really great way to start building your confidence. And then maybe speak in the larger function team meeting. And then after that, you get comfortable with that. Then you volunteer for the all hands. And then you keep building like that. You don't have to jump from 0 to 100 right away. Baby steps along the way are okay. And also just reframing what public speaking actually is.
Yeah, yeah, that's powerful. Okay, so I want to give you a chance in a minute to talk about what you're up to these days and where people can connect with you. But is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to talk about, or any key takeaway or final piece of advice?
One thing I want to touch on is that I am an introvert and that I think a lot of introverts think that you have to be really extroverted, you have to be really outgoing to be comfortable speaking. But I actually think introverts are really well suited for public speaking because they're so thoughtful. They practice a lot. They're strong writers. So, write a script ahead of time just to sort of give you a sense of direction, not to memorize, but just to know where you're going. So I just want to give a shout out to the introverts that if you are thinking about public speaking or you're feeling like, oh, it's not for me because I'm not super out there and super loud, that in fact, a lot of introverts I think do excel with public speaking. And a lot of the strengths that introverts have, I think, are just well suited for this. So that's one other thing I would add.
You're so right. I think that's one of the surprises I had during my 9 years at Prezi. Like, I was amazed at how many speakers I met who were introverts. Like,
Yeah.
it's a significant percentage. And I don't know. I think like you're right. The care and attention and planning beforehand, I think pays huge dividends. But yeah, I've not thought about what's the reasons why, but yeah, I definitely noticed that there's a lot of introverts. So I think yeah.
It's just about energy management. So it's totally fine to speak in front of a large crowd, but then afterwards, you might meet people one-on-one. That's also great, right? For building, introverts are great at that, building relationships. Then afterwards, you just go into your hotel room or go back to your apartment, whatever, and then just be by yourself
Yeah.
and just recharge.
Yeah. You need your exit plan to go decompress. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and it's important. I think sometimes, like, because one of the things I've worked with somebody in the past where, when they finish the talk and they
Mm,
climb down off the stage, in their head, it's like, okay, now I'm finished. And then it was like, oh, I need to run away. Whereas actually you almost need to extend the deadline in your head to, no, I'm going to talk to a few people and then I'm going to
yeah,
go run away.
yes,
Yeah, like,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly, yeah.
cool. Um, so where can people connect with you and see more of your stuff? Because you have some great content that people can learn from.
Thank you.
And I'll put any links I'll put obviously in the show notes as well.
Definitely, you can find me on LinkedIn, Lorraine K. Lee. I post Monday through Saturday on various career, leadership management topics, presentations, public speaking, of course, as well. I talk a lot about my own speaking journey. I have a weekly free newsletter called Career Bites. It's bite-sized tips to supercharge your career in 3 minutes or less. I have 15 LinkedIn learning courses out now. So lorraineklee.com/LinkedIn learning, you can find those there. Yeah, and I think those are the best places. And if you are listening and want to work with me or reach out to find out about how we might be able to partner, contact at lorraineklee.com.
Fantastic. I was thrown 15 courses already. That's amazing.
Yeah, a lot of nano courses, so those were quick for me
It's
to create.
still a lot of work. Having
Yeah,
launched my first LinkedIn course today, I can attest to the amount of work it takes to put those things together. So yeah, definitely check out Lorraine's LinkedIn learning courses.
thanks.
Great. So all that's left is to say thank you very much for your time and sharing your experience. I think there's a lot of great stuff there. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Spencer.
See you next time.